Hello students, welcome to the third session of Human Health and Diseases. In this session, you will learn about immune system in humans and acquired immune deficiency syndrome AIDS. Let's see, what does human immune system consist of? The human immune system consists of primary and secondary lymphoid organs, immune cells, soluble molecules like antibodies, and lymphoid tissues. Immune system is unique in the sense that it recognizes foreign antigens, responds to these, and remembers them. The immune system also plays an important role in allergic reactions, autoimmune diseases, and organ transplantation. Let's see, what are lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs are organs where origin, maturation, and proliferation of lymphocytes occur. The primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus, where immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen-sensitive lymphocytes. After maturation, the lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs like spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, Peyer's patches of small intestine, and appendix. The secondary lymphoid organs provide the sites for interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. Primary lymphoid organs provide the microenvironment for the development and maturation of lymphocytes. Bone marrow is the organ where all the blood cells, including lymphocytes, originate. Thymus plays a very important role as primary lymphoid organ. It is an organ which is lobed, located near the heart beneath the breastbone. It is quite large at the time of birth but reduces with age. After maturation, the lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs. Various secondary lymphoid organs are spleen, lymph nodes, and mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue or MALT. Spleen is a large bean-shaped organ that contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. It acts as a filter of blood by trapping blood-borne microorganisms. It has a large reservoir of erythrocytes. Let's look into lymph nodes. These are small, solid structures present at different points along the lymphatic system. They trap microorganisms and other antigens that enter the lymph and tissue fluid. Antigens trapped in lymph nodes activate the lymphocytes and produce an immune response. Next is mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue or MALT. It is a diffuse system of small concentrations of lymphoid tissue found in various submucosal membrane sites of body such as respiratory, digestive, and urinogenital tracts. 50% of the lymphoid tissue in humans is formed by MALT. Examples are tonsils, the Peyer's patch within the small intestine, and the vermiform appendix. Let's look into one of the most dreaded diseases of the 20th century, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or better known as AIDS. It is a life-threatening disease. As the name specifies, it is the deficiency of immune system acquired during the lifetime of an individual, indicating that it is not a congenital disease. AIDS was first reported in 1981. After that, it has spread all over the world, killing more than 29 million persons. AIDS is caused by human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, a member of a group of viruses called retrovirus which have an envelope enclosing the RNA genome. How does transmission of HIV occur? It occurs through the following ways: by sexual contact with infected person, by transfusion of contaminated blood and blood products, by sharing infected needles as in the case of intravenous drug abusers, and from infected mother to her child through placenta. If these are the ways by which the HIV transmits from an infected person to a healthy person, then who are the people at high risk of getting this disease? They are the individuals who have multiple sexual partners, individuals who require repeated blood transfusions, drug addicts who take drugs intravenously, and children born to HIV infected mother. It is important to note that HIV/AIDS is not spread by mere touch or physical contact. It spreads only through body fluids. It is hence vital for the physical and psychological well-being that HIV/AIDS infected persons are not isolated from family and society. There is always a time lag between the infection and appearance of AIDS symptoms. This period may vary from a few months to many years. Let's look into the life cycle of HIV. After getting into the body of the person, the virus enters into macrophages where RNA genome of the virus replicates to form viral DNA with the help of the enzyme reverse transcriptase. This viral DNA gets incorporated into host cell DNA and directs the infected cells to produce virus particles. The macrophages continue to produce virus and in this way acts like a HIV factory. Simultaneously, HIV enters into helper T lymphocytes, replicates and produce progeny viruses. The progeny viruses released into the blood attack other helper T lymphocytes. This is repeated, leading to a progressive decrease in the number of helper T lymphocytes in the body of the infected person. During this period, the person suffers from bouts of fever, diarrhea, and weight loss. Due to decrease in the number of helper T lymphocytes, the person starts suffering from infections that could have been otherwise overcome, such as those due to bacteria, especially Mycobacterium, viruses, fungi, and even parasites like Toxoplasma. The patient becomes so immunodeficient that he is unable to protect himself against these infections. A widely used diagnostic test for AIDS is enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay or ELISA. There is no permanent cure for AIDS. Treatment for AIDS with antiretroviral drug is only partially effective. They can only prolong the life of the patient but cannot prevent death, which is inevitable. As AIDS has no cure, prevention is the best option. Moreover, HIV infection more often spreads due to conscious behavior patterns and is not something that happens accidentally like pneumonia or typhoid. Of course, infection in blood transfusion patient, newborns, etc. may take place due to poor monitoring. The only excuse may be ignorance, and it has been rightly said, don't die of ignorance. In our country, the National AIDS Control Organization and other non-governmental organizations are doing a lot to educate people about AIDS. WHO has started a number of programs to prevent the spreading of HIV infection, which includes making blood from blood banks safe from HIV, ensuring the use of only disposable needles and syringes in public and private hospitals and clinics, free distribution of condoms, controlling drug abuse, advocating safe sex, and promoting regular checkups for HIV in susceptible populations. Infection with HIV or having AIDS is something that should not be hidden, since then the infection may spread to many more people. HIV/AIDS infected people need help and sympathy instead of being shunned by society. Unless the society recognizes it as a problem to be dealt with in a collective manner, the chances of wider spread of the disease increase manifold. It's a disease that can only be tackled by the society and medical fraternity acting together to prevent the spread of the disease. World AIDS Day, designated on 1st of December every year since 1988, is an international day dedicated to raising awareness of the AIDS pandemic caused by the spread of HIV infection and mourning those who have died of the disease. Let's all work together to prevent the spread of AIDS. With this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you and have a nice day.